All right, welcome into the program. Writer's Block. I'm your host, Bill Reiter on CBS Sports HQ. UFC is going on Sunday on ESPN. Cain Velasquez fighting Francis Ngannou. Cain's going to be on the show about 15 minutes. We'll talk some baseball, a very special Valentine's Day present from a group of NBA players, so some other NBA players, and a deep dive on the association, all beginning right now. All right, this is the end of our week here, at least here on the show. Writer's Block won't be on the air tomorrow. I'm off next week. Eric Casilli is filling in next week. So we want to sort of take a look back at what, somewhat under the radar, was kind of a weird and wild and wacky week in the NBA. Want to hit some of those things that we saw, including, I'm a big believer that this is more than a two-game sample size, that this is a legit fact. The Kyrie-less Celtics looked markedly better the last couple games because they didn't have Kyrie Irving, including that win earlier in the week against a Sixers team that they have dominated, 10-2 in their last 12 games. Yes, several of the games this year, they're 3-1 this season, have been close, but Boston's looked good against Philly, and they look great without Kyrie Irving. Sometimes you do get addition by subtraction. I know it sounds counterintuitive. I think it applies to Kyrie. Well, here's the complicated reality. Those of you that are gambling out there, trying to figure out where your money should go on Celtics games. The Celtics are a better basketball team in the regular season when Kyrie's not around because for whatever reason, whoever's to blame, that locker room doesn't get along when Kyrie's in the mix. But once they get into a 7-game series against teams good enough to make a finals, and last year there was just one in the East, LeBron and his Cavs, you need Kyrie to be able to hit some of those big shots. It's catch-22. It's the paradox of Boston. Kyrie's in albatross now. I think they need him when we get into basketball in May, or if they're playing well enough, June. And another thing that happened this week, and the Warriors lost last night to the Trailblazers, which is not as bad as a loss as it might sound. It's a good team, and Portland's a tougher place to play than people give them credit for. But the interesting stat, if you really look at the Warriors, not last night, but over the course of this season, since Boogie got activated, that crazy death lineup, that all-star team in real life of Durant, Steph, Clay, Draymond, and Boogie has a net rating, which is really the analytic approach to how good a team is, of 0.0. That's the 147th best lineup in the NBA, meaning the Warriors' death lineup has the chance to actually cause the death of their dominant run. If you dive into the data a little more thoroughly, it turns out the reason that lineup of all those all-stars doesn't perform the way that we would expect it to is they get incredibly out-rebounded. Denver, pretty good team in the Western Conference, one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country. The Thunder, one of the best teams in the Western Conference, also one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country. So just keep an eye on the Warriors, and maybe their secret weapon could actually be a secret weapon for their teams they're playing come the Western Conference playoffs. And speaking of the Warriors, Steve Kerr got real angry last night, but not because of the death lineup not working, Boogie didn't play, because he did not love the officiating. Kerr, and there's been some bad officiating across all sports, including the NBA, ejected in the loss. The officials, by the way, looked bad against the Jazz, and Joel Embiid, I'm good officiating by me, Joel Embiid lost his freaking mind the other night. And to be fair, he got hacked repeatedly toward the end of a critical game against the Celtics and had these choice words to say for the officials.
Thanks, guys. And the referees suck.
I mean, the language isn't very nice, but he's not necessarily wrong. Bad officiating is just spreading. The NFL, college hoops in that game with Kentucky losing at home, and certainly we saw in the NBA over the course of the week. Come on, officials, get it together. But here's the thing, and it is Valentine's Day. We actually have a very special Valentine's Day presentation at the end of the show. But Dirk and Wade are starting to find together, two enemies from back in the day, at the end of their careers, a little bit of NBA true love.
That's all behind me, man. You know, in my career, me and Dirk has had great conversations. We have great respect for each other. To even have my name, you know, parallel to such a great player and a great person. So, all that stuff is so far behind and so far gone.
I hope I can mature that much as I get older, because I was in the hallway at the finals when Wade started mocking Dirk Nowitzki and LeBron kind of followed suit. And I'm telling you, that was the catalyst for the Mavericks beating the Heat in that championship game. I love it. I love the bad blood, finding, a little bit of hope. That hope not spreading to the New York Knicks. This has been way under the radar, but the Knicks suck even more, to quote Tom Brady, than they usually do. They've lost 18 games in a row. 18 games in a row. Good news, Knicks fans, you got a really good chance, even though the tanking thing doesn't work statistically the way that it used to land that number 1 pick. Bad news, Zion Williamson, there's a chance you could be in New York Knicks next season. The Knicks play in the Cathedral of Basketball. The Garden's one of the most amazing places in the country to watch a basketball game, and the home team hasn't won an NBA game in 18 straight. Utterly and totally brutal. Trying to chase down that Sixers team back in the day when they were in full tank mood. All praise Sam Hinkie. By the way, it worked, and those poor Cavaliers the year that LeBron lost. I'm rooting for the Knicks just to lose every game for the rest of the year. The Knicks being interesting is good for the game, and the only way they're going to be interesting this year is if they continue to lose games. Speaking of lose games, LeBron James and his teammates are under 500. Now, here's the big caveat. The Lakers have been injury-riddled. LeBron in particular, but not just LeBron. It's been tough sledding for Luke Walton, but a LeBron James team has not been under 500 since 2004. They are, 3 games back of the Clippers for the 8 seed. Clippers traded Tobias Harris, so in theory you can make up some ground. Luke Walton's seed is incredibly hot. In fact, on this show last year, just when the network launched, about a year ago, a little bit less than that, I told you that sources told me in Los Angeles, Magic Johnson did not like Luke Walton, did not want him there. If the Lakers don't make the playoffs, it will give Magic the ammunition he needs and wants to get rid of Luke Walton, even though he somewhat has Jeannie Buss's, according to sources that I've talked to, Jeannie Buss's support. And who can forget in a weird week in the NBA, Harden doing crazy things, 30-plus point games again, had 40 last night. Russell Westbrook, triple-double after triple-double after triple-double, besting Wilt's record of the most consecutive games with a triple-double. And then out of nowhere, like a greatest hit from the past, rising back up, Michael Jordan sat in front of a microphone and did a little bit of a dig on those modern stars.
Both. They're all both hard, and uniquely, it shows the talent, that we have within the league, which is harder from a player standpoint. 6 championships, by all means.
I love it. I mean, that is the guy who was the greatest player and is the greatest player of all time at his Hall of Fame speech. Just ripped everybody for doubting him when nobody really doubted him. But Mike's onto something. He's right. Russell Westbrook and his greatness, I don't think, is going to translate to a championship anytime soon. James Harden and what he's doing statistically and the offensive explosion that is historically remarkable is not going to make up for a putrid and brutal defense in Houston. They're not going to be a threat this year in a 7-game series beyond maybe the second round of the playoffs. It's hard to win championships, 6 of them. It's hard to win 1, even if you're doing the things Westbrook and Harden are doing. And finally, kind of under the radar, weird week in the NBA, a report today from ESPN that Adam Silver, who was floated as a possible commissioner of the NFL, didn't say he wants the job, of course, but didn't say he doesn't want the job. And by the way, this makes sense. I know Roger Goodell signed a new deal, long-term deal, but Adam Silver isn't just the best commissioner, I think, in NBA history. He's not just the best commissioner in major sports. Silver has been ahead of several things that are critical to the future success of sports. He was ahead on the streaming thing. Young people watch a lot of NBA games on networks like this one, on streaming services. They consume a lot of NBA media on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube. The NBA, unlike the NFL, Major League Baseball, doesn't press its rights on YouTube and other places as much because they want people consuming highlights. And Adam Silver was way ahead of the gambling movement 2-3 years before the Supreme Court ruled, you know what, state legislatures, make your own decisions about sports gambling. So hopefully Adam Silver is going to remain commissioner of the NBA for those of us that love the NBA. But the fact that those rumors are still out there and that Silver didn't say they weren't true and that he didn't want the job just adds an exclamation point to a very interesting week in the association. We're going to shift our attention to a little UFC. Cain Velasquez is fighting Francis Ngannou on UFC, on ESPN just a few days from now. We're going to visit with Cain in just a moment here on Writer's Block. All right, welcome back into New York City and Writer's Block. I'm your host, Bill Reiter. On Sunday, February 17th, just a few days from now, big UFC heavyweight fight. Cain Velasquez is going to fight against Francis Ngannou on UFC on ESPN, and we are thrilled because we're joined by one of those two fighters. Cain Velasquez joins us on the show. Cain, I know you've got a fight in a few days. Thanks for making time for us.
No problem. Thank you.
So it's been a while. It's been, 2.5 years since you last stepped into an octagon. How's the training process been? How you feeling?
Training process has been great. Even my time off, I was able to be in the gym with some of the other fighters, Daniel Cormier, all the other guys there at AKA, being able to help out some of the younger guys that that are just up and coming into the UFC, and also just guys that want to be fighters. So for me, it was a great time to kind of sit back and also coach a little bit, and also spend time with my family as well. So it was good.
Your fighting style, it's electric to watch, in part because you're a heavyweight who has to have a lot of cardio. I mean, just your approach, you got to be in great shape. What's the process been? Maybe take us behind the curtain of how you've tried to make sure when you step into that octagon, you're able to have the engine that we're accustomed to seeing you with when that fight goes.
Yeah, well, that part of the sport, I mean, I feel like I've always had, as far as the cardio part, I think some of it's just God-given. Obviously, I work extremely hard at anything that I do, but for me, it's just making sure that I was 100% as far as physically, and now the time off, I feel stronger than ever. I feel like everything's working well. I'm able to train the way I want to. I'm able to do the output that I want to in training. So it's going to translate over to the fight game as well. So I'm very excited for this fight.
Maybe even to make it a little more exciting, at least for you, UFC on ESPN this Sunday is in Phoenix. You went to high school in Arizona. You wrestled at Arizona State. What does it mean to you that you'll be fighting in a state you've got all those connections to?
Yeah, I've competed here my whole life, from junior high all the way through college. This is where I feel comfortable competing in front of my family and friends. Being in my home state, it's just a great opportunity again to do this. So for me, it was more of a timing aspect to come back. It's having the right fight, the right time, against the right opponent. I believe Francis Ngannou has a ton of strengths. He's very dangerous in his punching power, but he's very beatable. And I believe I can expose him a lot more in this fight. So that's why I took it.
Yeah, Ngannou, I mean, both of you guys are great fighters. And just for fans like me, it's going to be fun to watch you two go at it. How much are you, as you get ready to get back in the octagon, how much do you personally study the tape? How much are you watching Ngannou in past fights to come up with a very specific strategy?
Yeah, you have to do that. You have to watch film on your guy. You have to kind of study your opponent, see what you're getting into, obviously. In order to get a good game plan going into a fight, I mean, it's something that you have to do. You have to do your homework. So watching him, knowing where his strength is as far as the punching power, we watched all that, and obviously he's got a good game plan going for this fight, and just excited to go out this Sunday and execute this game plan.
So I know you can't give us all the X's and O's. You can't give the entire battle plan. But as you look at the tape, as you come up with your plan, as you see, of course, that Stipe Miocic was able to go to the ground as a way to get this done, is that something you want to do, or do you have some confidence that you can stand and you can trade blows on your feet with Ngannou?
Well, in the beginning of the fight, I mean, I'm at the stand anyways, that's where the fight starts. But in order for anything else to work, wrestling, anything else, you have to be a presence on the stand-up as well. You have to make him respect your power as well, your punches and kicks. If he doesn't, then he gets really comfortable, and the takedown won't be there, it's like Stipe did. He hit him with a couple of good clean shots. So this is MMA. we can do everything. So, for me, I have to go out there and do everything. Just kind of all the tools that I have, I have to use them all for this fight in order to be victorious. So.
Cain, it feels like the whole world moves at hyperspeed now, and in your absence, a lot has changed in the heavyweight division. Has Dana White talked to you about what the next step looks like for you after this fight?
No, he hasn't talked to me, but we all just kind of know, it's fighting somebody like Francis. After that, I mean, we'll see, right? I mean, anything can happen. This sport, anything does happen in this sport, and time off that I've had, it's just crazy how much it's changed. But it's a sport that's very new, always evolving. It's always evolving very quickly. So anything can happen after this fight, but right now, just focused on the task ahead. But whatever happens after that happens.
Your good buddy and teammate, Daniel Cormier, who was on the show not long ago, really good dude. Now, he said that he may just have one more fight in him, though when he was on this program last month, I think it was, he certainly left the door open for you never know. There's been talk about him fighting Brock Lesnar. There's been talk about who could be the next fight that he goes up against. You guys are buddies. You guys are boys. Have you ever contemplated the prospect of the two of you going at each other?
We've talked about it. We talked about it numerous times, but it's always been the same conclusion. It's like that we're not going to fight. When he first got to AKA, we just hit it off as far as being great teammates. I'm always there to help him out for all his fights, and he's always there for me for all my fights. So when he goes out there and he fights and wins, I win with him as well. Because I was invested and I am invested in all his training and fights. Like when he fought Stipe, I was talking to him and telling him that I don't see him losing in this fight. There's not a place where Stipe can beat him. Him being Daniel being a smaller heavyweight, really fast, really explosive. It's something that these heavyweights aren't used to. They're not used to his quickness. So we won't fight.
How many more fights do you think we'll see DC competing in the UFC?
We'll see. He says he wants one more fight. He doesn't want to fight against Brock Lesnar. I know that, and I think that's a good fight. I think that's a good matchup for him, and also for just for the fans as well. I think the build-up will be good. I think the fight will be an excellent fight as well. But for me, I'm supporting my brother Daniel and whatever he does. If he wants to have more fights after that, then I'm behind him and I'll support him because I know what type of competitor he is. He's a guy that is extremely competitive, especially in this sport. So we'll see what happens after his next fight.
All right, UFC on ESPN on Sunday. Give us your prediction, Cain. How do you think this fight plays itself out?
I just picture every fight that it's going to be the hardest fight that I've ever gone through, and this is no different. Again, Francis poses a lot of threats in his punching power. I'm sure because he is still fairly new to fighting that he's improved a lot more. He's gotten some more tools in his arsenal. So I picture it being a long, hard fight with my hand being raised at the end.
We appreciate you. And by the way, congratulations. I know you were coming back from injury, your layoff, but it gave you the opportunity to be around your son a lot, which as a dad I know is really cool. So congrats on the birth of your son. Congrats on your kids, and good luck on Sunday.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
All right. I cannot wait for that fight. UFC on ESPN on Sunday. Velasquez against Francis Ngannou. Both those dudes are beasts, man, and Cain's right. Ngannou is not to be trifled with, not to be messed with. We haven't talked a lot of baseball. Spring training is here. Position players reporting over the next few days. Every single Major League Baseball spring training camp will be in session by Monday. So we're going to do a little MLB futures, see where the money should be moving, the smart money inside the numbers on MLB and possible champions and MVPs when we come back to the program here in just a minute. All right, welcome back into the show. It's Riders Block. I'm Bill Reiter. We're going to go inside the numbers on some MLB futures because we like gambling here on the program. Let's start with the numbers 6-1. Those are the updated odds to win the World Series that were released a couple days ago. And the former champs, the Red Sox, Yankees, and the Astros, all have the best odds at 6-1 to win the 2019 World Series. Yep, feels like the American League gonna do it again. How about 5-1 next up here on Inside the Numbers? Although no National League team is in the top 3 with the best odds, my Cubbies have the best odds to reach the World Series out of the NL at 5-1. At 12-1, that's the next number here, there's a 3-way tie for the pitcher who will win the most games this season. Max Scherzer, proud product of the University of Missouri, by the way, Chris Sale and Corey Kluber all have 12-1 odds to have the most wins of any pitcher in the majors this season. 8-1 is a reminder of how potent that Yankees offense is because 2 of the Bronx Bombers lead the way in the power department. Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton both have the best odds at 8-1 to hit the most home runs in the majors this season. And finally, this one's astounding to me, 97.5. Now things could change after Machado and Bryce Harper decide what teams they're going to play for, but as of right now, the Astros have the highest win total on the season at 97.5. The Yankees are second at 96.5, and the Red Sox third at 95.5. I know the Astros are great. I know they won, whatever it was, 103 games last year. 97.5 is just begging for the under, which means you should probably take the over, but I'm bad at this sometimes, so I might be putting a sizable bet on the under, because you just never know. There's a lot of bad American League teams, though. All right, it's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. We love that you're watching the show. And we've got a few Valentine's Day specials for you. We actually were able to get our hands on some actual Valentines in the world, in the NBA, including proof that the bromance between LeBron James and Dwayne Wade lives on. Oh, that's sweet. Look at that. Oh, and they hugged it out. Yeah, man. Man crush. You know what? Good for those guys. Didn't work out in Cleveland with Wade playing there, but there's still so much love and so much friendship. The heart really, really puts it home. I don't know if LeBron sent it to Wade or Wade sent it to LeBron, but you know what? That's really cool and really sweet. Now, that's a relationship that's been around for a while. Kristaps Porzingis and Luka Doncic, that's new. That's a new one, but the guys are already celebrating this very special holiday. And let me look at that. You know, Kristaps looking all, dapper in a suit. I mean, I don't want to, it's just a single moment, but I sense some true basketball love there. Very, very cool. Congratulations, Dallas. You've got a duo there that could work. Oh, this next one's important because Boban is the man. And he very kindly sent to Tobias Harris a little card that says, hey, bro, I still care, man. It's all good. Doesn't matter where I am or what I'm doing. These moves will always be something that we share is cool. Now, Valentine's Day is also the opportunity to, not just connect with people you've had a relationship with, like Boban and Harris, like LeBron and Wade, but for one-time enemies to find joy together, to basically say, hey, man, let's turn this hate into affection, which is why it's cool that Joel Embiid decided to jot down Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and I think he sent it to that guy who dresses really cool. Look at that. Be mine or I will floor you, right? A little, I just knocked your you-know-what to the ground, but it's in a heart, so now it feels so different. It's so cool. And, you can do it, Russ. Get up. Yeah, now go after him. A lot of relationships start with fighting. I've watched the rom-coms. We know how that is. And finally, a very special Valentine from all of us here at Writer's Block to P.A. David, who works on the show, and it's his birthday. Think about that, ladies. Born on Valentine's Day, probably a pure romantic. Here is our love letter to David Rothschild.
It's senior day here at Walton Stadium as the Missouri Tigers take on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Missouri is coming off a 2-0 win against Georgia on Friday, who was ranked number 17th. They posted Georgia's first shutout all year. Mizzou stands second in the SEC East as they look to improve today at home.
Oh, That was amazing. Those of you on Valentine's Day who are like, I need a man in my life who can do that on camera and was born on Valentine's Day, I will connect you with PA David. Just hit me up on Twitter, Reiter Sports, Reiter. Love is in the air. Happy Valentine's Day. The show is off the air tomorrow. It's on the air next week. Eric Casillas is filling in. I'll be on vacation, and I'll be back on the 25th, which is approaching on the 26th, the one-year anniversary of your home for streaming sports, CBS Sports HQ launching. Thank you for your loyalty. Thank you for your time here. Appreciate you. I'll see you in a week and a half. We're continuing with our coverage now from Fort Lauderdale on what's trending in the world of sports. Sportsline coming up in 30 minutes.